On 1420 WEMB Sports Radio.
Just let the music play, huh? Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll let the music play from the last bumper here. I'm Marky Billson, Tri-City Sports Now. A little bit awkward there, but what the heck. All right. 1420 WEMB Sports Radio. I want to remind everybody, like I said, you can win Dollywood tickets if you start following us on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, the most followed sports radio station in the market. Yeah. We're making inroads. We're making so many inroads, Bobby Rader has actually blocked me on Twitter. Why? I haven't tweeted anything negative about it. There's one time, we're going to have a Dukes of Hazzard event around here next month, and I guess he retweeted it, and I wrote on there, well, you know, there's only one sports talk show host in this market who actually has put on Dukes of Hazzard conventions, and it's moi, and played the interview that we did with Guy Waldron, who created the show, and its relationship with NASCAR back in the day. I've always said this. I think that NASCAR actually owes a debt of gratitude to the show. I don't think it's coincidence that on January 26, 1979, the show debuted, and then the next month, the CBS televised the Daytona 500 for the first time. And the sports, basically, you had this very popular show, very popular with youth. Stock car is the star, basically. And that, I really think, helped out NASCAR racing. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, you know. And I recognize that. That's what we talked about. You can watch the video on YouTube if you want. Or you can go to my own personal Facebook page. I got to boost it up there. You'll see it on the feed. Anyway, I was talking a little bit about soccer and the Women's World Cup. And I was talking a little bit about participation. Because, you know, you're hearing all this, you know, it was inconceivable a generation ago that, say, the Women's World Cup would be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Might be been inconceivable to believe that we'd have, in a previous generation, you know, websites like Deadspin and the sporting news would all be online and things like that. I mean, times do change. But nevertheless, the idea, it's an idea that, okay, soccer is gaining a foothold. Popularity of the country. I've talked the Otters here. They won this weekend, you know. Things are better than ever, but let's just focus on the USWNT. And as I said, although female high school soccer participation has slowly but steadily risen in the last 10 years, like I said, there was a big boom right after, you know, the World Cup in '99. The Americans, you know, Brandy Chastain, Mia Hamm, all those, beating China. There was a boom. It was next 15 years, participation increased 45%. Well, last 10 years, high school soccer participation for females has risen from 356,000 and change to 390,000 and change. And the boys have about, I think it's 25,000 more participants or so. You know, I mean, it's modest, 25, 30 more. And such, playing soccer. But it hasn't grown every single year. There was one year that actually lost about 800 participants, males playing high school soccer. I think it was 2012 or so, for whatever reason. And as I said, New York Times said last 3 years, or at least 2015 to 2018, they're reporting that youth soccer, I'm talking 6 to 12, it's down 14% across the country. Participation. All kinds of reasons for that. I mean, you know, first of all, as someone once said, there's not, you know, not every boy has to go out and play baseball or kick around a soccer ball or have an interest in sports. I mean, you might be riding your bicycle or wanting to go fishing or reading books or whatever you wish to do. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be sports. I get that. But I think that one of the reasons they talk about is how, you know, video games, that's become real big. And so, whereas, you know, maybe you got together with all your friends once upon a time and played sports in your backyard, now maybe you get in your den, climate controlled, it's a lot easier, and you play your video games. All right. There's also the cost of travel soccer. Hope Solo has actually said, I don't know if I would have been a soccer player this year, in this day and age, because of the expense of travel soccer. And you hear this about a lot of sports, baseball especially, but here's something the New York Times also reports. Youth participation in baseball and basketball has actually increased, and a lot of this is because Major League Baseball and the NBA have both funded a lot of developmental programs. So is hockey, as a matter of fact. We just haven't felt it around here. But I think there's also one other reason why participation could have dropped, and I think we're seeing it in display right now in the World Cup. And it's soccer's getting a whole lot less likable. A whole lot less likable. I mean, I'm reading stories in a variety of news outlets about the political extremist fans at NYCFC games. And they're right-wing now, but when the MLS first started taking off, there were a lot of left-wing extremist fans. The point here is extremist. I'm talking skinheads in their own, section and all that. And people sort of like saying, is this the environment that we want to take little Johnny to? And maybe they don't. But that's the MLS. The idea is it is an extension, however, of the European soccer fan or the international soccer fan, and we've heard about soccer riots and all this, and it's not a good look for the sport, obviously. And the idea also was as involved as we get around here in, say, American football, we haven't really started to riot. There was the fan that was really seriously injured, the Giants fan, who was, criminally assaulted and enfeebled, actually, by a couple of Dodger fans who were thugs who beat him up for wearing a Giant shirt or whatever it was. You do have that, but it's not wide scale. Now, it's tough to tell the Giants fan that, but nevertheless. It's this whole thing with the women's soccer team, and the two aspects. The one were the goal celebrations, once it got to be like 11-0. And, yeah. I've got a picture up on my Medium page, and it shows the picture of the really elaborate celebration after Megan Rapinoe's goal against Thailand last week. Made the score 9-0. And I mean, everybody is out there on the, just congratulating and all. And it's sort of like, wait a minute, I've just scored a touchdown to make this game 77-0, which is the equivalent of an 11-0 soccer game. Do we really want to see the touchdown dance at that point? I mean, that's a little bit, patronizing. And so then you had that golf clap cheer that the players went after they scored first goal in a 3-0 victory against Chile. And it's like they don't get it. There's no sportsmanship here. There's, this thumbing your noses at basically good taste, which is something that is happening more and more with American soccer. And even Hope Solo, who's both the most popular figure in modern women's soccer, as well as the most polarizing because of her, relationship with the family and all this, she has decried USWNT's lack of sportsmanship. Now you throw in Rapinoe, she's a co-captain, and she's standing for the anthem. She used to kneel, but she's not putting her hand over her heart and all this. And look, Rapinoe has, this is America. She can, she's free to believe whatever political belief she wants to, basically. As long as they do not harm others, then sort of thing. They're not violent, at least. I mean, we can discuss, this tax plan will hurt other people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, legalize stealing. Well, that's going to hurt a lot of people. Anyway, I'm not sure that we're really down for that. But anyway. thing is about Rapinoe is that anthem protests are so 2016. And they've been met with such a backlash, they've become very fringe and extreme as well. I mean, you see a football player doing it now, and it's really honest. I mean, that fad has died out. And even, Rapinoe, she's not kneeling. She's just sitting without her hand over her heart, which shows you how that fad has died out. Now, here's the difference. You go back to 99, and I don't mean to sound like, total fuddy-duddy, but this is a legitimate comparison. In fact, I shouldn't have to even say old fuddy. No. Sometimes there's change, and sometimes that change isn't so good. And this is an example. Because in 99, when the women won the World Cup, it seemed to celebrate all that was right, not just about the sport, but America. I mean, they even beat communist China in the finals. And Brandi Chastain gave us the most famous American soccer moment in history, either gender. But now, 20 years later, the USWNT just seems to emulate the ugly American stereotype. And you know something? I told you a little bit about the participation levels going down between 6 and 12-year-olds. If they don't rectify that, then women's soccer is going to be a cult sport again. Now, it may be more popular, probably always will be more popular than it was prior to 1999, don't get me wrong. But there are a lot, you had the soccer moms. I want my son or daughter playing soccer because it's not as violent as football or field hockey or what have you. Turned out, actually, that you'd be surprised. And still, I'm not sure that this is going to be something that parents, if this display by the women's team is out there, will necessarily be pushing en masse their children to play anymore. So we'll see about that. But I found that very interesting. Youth participation, baseball and basketball up, soccer down, and I really don't think that this year's women's team, as good as they are, is doing a whole heck of a lot to do much for the brand, what with their behavior. All right, I'm Marky Billson. It's Tri-City Sports Now. We'll be looking at that baseball action and some more highlights after this.
Barter Theater.